Obviously there's a balance. There's a balance to what I'm about to say. There is definitely a balance. But I think the whole thing of retakes, ditch it is stupid. I think it's really stupid. In my experience so far, as I've developed and learned and improved at doing specifically self tapes, I mean, um, I think blocking yourself into doing a certain amount of takes puts a certain pressure, and sometimes that pressure is good, obviously, and I'm not telling people to sit there and do 500 takes, because you'll lose your mind and you'll lose your patience and things like that. But because those kind of things show, the second you start getting frustrated with a scene or frustrated with a text in any way, it shows off in the audition. I'm very lucky to live with 3 other actors, and one of my housemates had filmed a self tape, and it was a weird one because it was like, one of these ones where it's like 2 lines, but he filmed it probably about 25 times. And by the time he got to the last tape, he was like, yeah, no, that's it. I got it. That's it. I did it. And then he asked me about the tapes, and he asked me to watch them. He had a couple different options, but they were all towards the end of that sort of period of doing that many takes and getting frustrated with the scene. It reads. It reads because he ended up rushing and attacking the lines because you're so focused on getting saying the line in the right way, in the right tone, at the right time, the right speed. And then you lose yourself in the sort of frustration of it. And it really does show in the tapes, even if you can't see it. And I think you can't see it in the moment because you've done so many takes that you only see you saying the line in the way that you intended to say it 7 takes ago, But I think it's not worth doing things like that. And which is why I was saying that it's a balance. But something that I found that is incredibly useful is doing a mock trial for self tapes. If you have the advantage and privilege of time, obviously it's difficult. People have jobs, people have things to do. But something that I found incredibly useful is doing a tape once, watching it over, leaving it, and then coming back again to do the take again. So you're fresh, you're not tired, you're not exhausted, you're not frustrated, but you've seen what you've done and you can analyze it, see what was right, see what was wrong. I think because even with sometimes all you need is time to see. I think as actors, it's so easy to analyze another person's performance, but so difficult. For me personally, when I first came out of drama school, analyzing my own performance was so difficult because I would sit there and be like, I don't know if that's any good or if that's any bad. I don't know if it worked or if it didn't work. How did it sound? How didn't it sound? And so having the space to do it, go away for a while and then come back is something that I do pretty regularly now. And I think it has stepped up my self tapes massively. And I think it's this thing of, right, we all shut ourselves down to the premise of spending too much time on self tapes because we don't want to feel too attached to a role, especially if you're not getting a recall, this or that, or the other. And having a balance of, not completely wearing yourself out for one tape. But at the end of the day, a tape is an opportunity to act. So why would you not use the opportunity to workshop the scene, rehearse it, try it again, try it in a way that makes absolutely no sense, but you do it anyways to see if anything comes out of that. And that's something that we've really sort of adopted in this house, of doing a tape. And sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But I think predominantly, especially for, heavier, bigger tapes, going back to it afterwards is so so useful, and just like having the space to absorb everything you've done and watched and then go at it again. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned as an actor self-taping right now in terms of process.
Do you have any advice from your third year and 2 years in the industry, emailing industry agents, casting directors?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I picked up from Philippa, who was my head of year, now she's at Lambda, as the head of acting. She was just like, keep it nice and short, keep it concise, couple of lines. There's sort of 3 points that you need to hit. Hello, the first point being, hello, I'm Edward Neale. I'm graduating at Italia Conti, and I'm doing a showcase or whatever. The second point being, why are you getting in touch with them? Hi, Martin, Curtis Brown. I love your books. I think the type of actors I've always looked up to the type of actors you represent, and I think that making sure that there's a gap in terms of your casting as well in their books. If you see someone that's in there that looks exactly like you, they're probably not gonna they might, but they're probably not gonna go, oh well, I need another one, because they've already got that covered. So doing your research, and then the third point is it's been so long since I've done it. The third point is, just inviting them to sort of what's coming up. I mean, the amazing thing about being in third year is that you've got showcases, you've got shows. I mean, showcase is probably the biggest one in terms of industry reception. But yeah, the thing is, it feels so weird, like having to sell yourself. Like, I really hate it, but it's just part of the job. Like, it's something you just have to do. And like, I still really don't like it, but you just have to bite the bullet, because if you don't sell yourself, no one else is going to at this stage. And if you believe in your talent, you need to show that to other people and show them why they should believe in your talent as well. Yeah. And sorry, as I was saying, while you're in third year, you've got consistent events happening, consistent reasons to email agents. When you graduate, it might not be as easy to say, oh, well, I'm doing a play, at the so-and-so or whatever. So it's a perfect opportunity to just really, really just sit down and do it. And it is tedious, but it is worth doing. So yeah, that's my advice.
When you emailed agents, did you cast your net wide, or did you focus on 10 to 15 that you really were interested in, and went, I'm going to write a really personal email to these guys?
So, truthfully, it's not amazing. It's not amazing advice, but truthfully, I got very lucky, because I sort of my agent now, James Foster, he came to the first show, and I sort of started chatting to him after that, and I was maybe a little bit blasé in terms of emails. After that, I heard a story about somebody in your year that emailed an agent, right, sort of top, big agency anyway, got aired, and then emailed them again, and then the agent actually came back the second time and said, yeah, great, we saw you and we liked you, and we want you to do a monologue for us or whatever. And I don't know if that led anywhere, but I think that's just clearly like an amazing story, where it's like, even if it seems like all the doors are closed, it's just about persistency, not annoying them, but it's just about not giving up, and just really, if you know what you want, you just got to go for it. I mean, I've seen spreadsheets of people in my year that emailed like 300 people, and I think that's amazing. And obviously, if you have the organizational skills to do that, I think it's an amazing thing to do. I didn't, and I'm not regretful about it, but there is always the question of just doing that extra little bit more. What would happen if you did that extra step?
I think as well, something to say is, what I didn't realize is how few people get back to you. Like, it's absolutely brutal how many people you email and how few get back to you. And it's nothing personal, it's just they're so busy. Like, they're getting, how many actors are there compared to agents and casting directors?
Yeah, it's just it's one of those sort of brutal facts about the industry. I think even with auditions, you know, sort of 80% of the time, you won't hear anything. You know, depending on you know your success rate and stuff. But if it's a no, you just won't hear. You just won't hear back most of the time. And it's really hard. It's something that you have to sort of get over quite quickly. I think it's well, you know, do it and forget about it. I'm sure that's a cliche phrase that's still being told to you guys, but the sooner you can forget about it, the sooner you can focus on the next thing. But yeah, with the agent emails, if they ignore you, it's not because you're terrible or because you're ugly or anything like that. Yeah,
Yeah, thank
phew.
God.
Uh, it's because they're incredibly busy people that are juggling 50 plus clients and maybe they just missed it or whatever. But don't let it get you down. Just keep emailing and somebody will notice.
Let's say I've written a script and I'm really happy with it and I think it's ready. How do I even get near the possibility of it being taken beyond just words on a page and turning into something, whether that's stage or screen?
So my recommendation would to you would be there would be two things I would do. Actually, no, three. The first one is I would get in a room with actors that you care about, that care about you, and just hear it. Don't be in it, just hear it. Every time I develop a new script, I do multiple readings with my friends who are actors, and I just hear it and I get feedback. And yeah, all right, that's feedback. Then you're like, oh shit, there's loads of feedback. But essentially, I just hear it read and I pretend I'm listening to their feedback, but really I just want to hear it read. But sometimes things can come up that you'll keep. Someone once told me when you're receiving feedback, this is as an actor, and I've probably told it to you, I've probably told it to you before, take what you need and the rest throw in the bin. Because there comes a point when you've got to make that decision and that choice for you. Well, I'm going to play that character like that. I'm going to write it like that. But actually, no, that character needs to do this. And that's the reason because of the end point. So I would say having a reading with actors so you can hear it. It's the most exposing, vulnerable thing one can ever do. I did it last week on a play with some of the best actors in Wales who are quite high profile. And there was a point where I was like, I want to die. This is too big. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, who am I? And I needed to sit in it. I needed to sit in the mess of it. But it also allowed me to find out what worked and what didn't. So that would be my first thing to you. And the second thing I would say is I would look at getting into a writers group. I've been in a couple of writers groups. I was in the National Theatre Writers Group. I'm in a Faber Writers Group at the moment for a novel. Writers groups are incredible because everyone is really eager and keen and excited. You build a community, everyone's in the same boat, and they can lead on to you connecting with people that you didn't expect that might get your work on. In terms of the writers groups at the moment that I would probably recommend to you, there is one in Soho Theatre. They run a writers lab that you submit your work to get it on. The Royal Court also have one, which is a very, very lucrative one, very competitive. You've got another writers group that is at the Orange Tree for writers as well. But the other thing I would point you to is in the direction of is two websites that are, I'd say three websites actually, that are incredibly important for writers. If you're wanting to get your work read, on, developed, or if you just want to get some education as a writer. The websites are, first of all, the BBC Writers Room. BBC Writers Room they have an opportunities board. They run writers groups. And that's not just for TV and film, but they also have theatre groups. But they're also like an opportunities board where they have lots of opportunities that are not BBC. So it kind of becomes a bit like a Facebook or a LinkedIn, but for creative writing opportunities. And I go on that weekly just to check that there's no competitions or pots of money or funding or groups that I can be part of. The same as with the Bruntwood Writing Prize website, where they have different opportunities. And the great thing about Bruntwood as well is that their opportunities are more regional. As we know, a lot of things are London centric. And we're, a lot of the reason why we are so beautifully wonderful is not all of us are from London. Do you know what I mean? Like, and actually storytelling needs to not just be set in London. And Bruntwood's great because it's set in it's part of Manchester Exchange's sort of programme, the Playwriting Prize, the Bruntwood Playwriting Prize, which is really prestigious, is set up there. But they also have an opportunities board, and that'll be for competitions and groups and things. And the third one is called the London, I'm taking it back to London, the London Playwrights blog, where they have like a tab where one of their website pages is all the different writers groups across the UK. And these are like online, in real life, hybrid. Some of them are free, some of them are to be paid for, some of them are for women, some are for people that are neurodiverse, some are for writers of color. Like those are really great places for you to be like, okay, I've got this script, where can I send it? And then that leads me on to my third thing, is that competitions and writer schemes can change things. There are various playwriting awards that you can apply to. There'll be various playwriting awards that you could apply to because you're under the age of 30. But essentially, playwriting awards can lead you to get your work on. It can lead you to be acknowledged by venues in the industry, producers, theatre companies, agents. Me being shortlisted for Papa Tango in 2021, so I was top 8 out of about 4,000 plays. Have no idea how that happened. For Hot Chicks that eventually got on, but took years. That led me to the path of Francesca Moody, the producer, and she couldn't take my play on, but she said, well, what do you want? And I said, I need an agent. And she set me up meetings with 2 agencies, one of which is now my literary agent. The Papa Tango playwriting shortlisting also got me meetings with different venues. And these are relationships that I've now cultivated. And as a result, I've either got commissions with or I'm having meetings with. You know what I mean? It's like those awards, like the Bruntwood Playwriting Award, which is it's the equivalent of the Booker, I would say, for playwriting. I was longlisted for that this year for another play that hasn't gone on. I was top 100 out of about 5,000 plays. And having that, has allowed me to now have meetings with the court. It's a name game. It feels really, it's not about the work. But by doing those competitions, and also I use those competitions to go back to Alex and deadlines. Those competitions are pretty much yearly or every other year. I use them as a deadline. So every time I want to write a play, I focus it on the deadlines so I can then send it out.
What's it like working at the top of your game at the West End, for example, and then going back to a Muggle job?
Good question. It's interesting. I think when you're in drama school, you have a lot of routine. You've got a lot of structure and a lot of, these classes, these workshops, these projects that you're on, and then that just sort of disappears. And I think having some sort of consistency, whether that is working a job, and I feel like the taboo of working Muggle jobs or whatever just needs to be like dissipated, because it's just the reality. There's more of us that are trying to balance those two worlds than there are the people who can live comfortably in those worlds. And I think that's just the place that you can be indefinitely. And I think it's just, for me, I'll be really honest, now, I think it's just making peace with the idea that this inconsistency is probably going to be for a while. And I know that sounds really like dark and bleak, and people are going to be like, what do you mean? Like, it can't be. But actually, the minute you let go of that is the minute things start coming into your life. And also, for me personally, I and you guys are doing it by doing this podcast, I just really feel like acting can't be your entire life. Like, it's something we do because we love, but it's a job, we get paid for it. The creativity aspect is something that we do for free. Like, we love being creatives and we love doing what we do. But I think there is a fear that I had after doing For Black Boys, is like, what's next? And I would go on all these like interviews, and I remember like the question I get all the time is, so what are you up to next? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to get this done. And I would say it's a two-pronged thing. I would say, one, I think as creatives, we need to feel okay with saying, I don't know what's next. And two, please, this is a PSA, and look directly into the camera. This is a PSA to all other actors out there. Stop asking people, what are you up to now? Just let's stop, because I think that in itself is something that makes us feel like our whole world needs to be around this thing that we do for fun because we love. And actually, we've got hobbies, we've got careers, and we've got ambitions around other things. So I think it's just about having a structure in your life, is in this transition between, like, you know, if it's drama school or it's anything that you're going into, having a transition, remembering why you do it, and focusing on what's important to you outside of this, and having friends that you can connect to outside of this as well, especially just like drama school, just like being on a West End show. It's a bubble, and then that bubble pops and you're like, oh damn, like, what do I do now? So I think it's just being prepared for that. Even at the end of the run, I think I was a bit like, okay, so this is over now. What am I going to be known for? But actually, that's fine. Like, things will find itself when they find itself.
I was going to jump on something you said there. You were talking about like the work-life balance.
Yeah.
How do you kind of find that as a young actor? Because I feel like a lot of the time it can seem like, you know, obviously acting is the priority and it's the main goal. But like you said, if you've got a concert that you save loads of money up for and it's tomorrow night, and then you get a tape through, I feel like that balance is really tricky. Have you got any advice for finding that?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, Sam, thank you for calling me young. I really appreciate that. Clinging on to that. Anyone who IDs me now, I'm like, thank you so much. I think in terms of advice, I think when I first graduated, I was like, wow, I'll never be able to book a holiday or go to a wedding again, because what if a job comes up? And actually take the holiday, go to the wedding, live your life, because I think if you become all about the work, it can get a little bit dangerous, and just enjoy your life as well. So I think, and also we need to make ends meet. We need to pay our rent. We need to work. We need to do those things. And a lot of actors, like loads of my mates now, still have side jobs, as such, including me. So I think it's important to spend time with your friends, spend time with your family, do those things without going, yeah, but this might happen. Yeah, do you know what? It might, but cross that bridge maybe when you come to it. Like, there's a saying that they say, if you want a job, go on holiday. And it can be true. Like, I was on holiday a few weeks ago, and then you get tapes, and you're like, whoa. But it's fine. You deal with it, and there's ways around it. And actually, it may just take you saying to your agent, is there any chance I could just ask for an extension for 2 days or something? And then worst that can happen is that they say no. So I think try and find that balance of enjoying your life. God, this is getting so serious. I'm so sorry. Enjoying your life, but also throwing everything into work. And you will strike that. Again, it's just experience. It's just about kind of being out and about in the industry. But I certainly remember leaving drama school and thinking, well, this is it then. Locked it. This is my career. Now I'll never leave the UK again. But yeah, I think just do what makes you happy. And I think it's also important to like take time, as in, especially if you've just had a job, like take that holiday and take that time off. I say this, I have one day on my sofa and I'm like, well, what's next? What? And I struggle. I also struggle to switch off. But I think, yeah, just spend time with people you love. And I think sometimes we go, and I think often we feel guilty. We go, should I be doing more? Is there something I need to be focusing on here? But no.
What are the key things that graduating actors should focus on in their first year out?
Ooh, what a good question. To be honest, this is every time I am teaching students, acting students who are in their final year, my advice is always, your first year out, make sure you have a job. Just a job that pays you money that you can, live off of. Have a home, whatever that is, like whether you've moved back home or you've moved in with flatmates, like find a place, and then strive to do one creative project. If you can get that, if you can have a job and a place to live, and you've done one creative thing, even if it's like you've put together a reading of a play in your living room, like whatever it is, that in your first year out is success. There are people who might do much more than that. Like it's going to be very different for everyone, right? But I think we get really bogged down in that first year out of like needing to like hit the ground running. Like it's all going to get figured out. Like I've got to land that big TV spot, or I've got to like land this next gig. And while that's great to have that sort of ambitious goal, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's success. That sort of in that first year out, you're also still figuring out how to live outside of school. I think a lot of people forget that like up until this point, most people haven't had to not follow the schedule that is school. It gives you sort of the structure. You're trying to figure out you're suddenly sort of thrust into the world in a very different kind of way. So that alone will take up time and need sort of space. So yeah, I think removing that pressure off of yourself in that first year out is key. And then if things do happen, great, they did. Like if you do something, get cast in a bunch of things, it's great. That's awesome. But also if you do one thing, that's huge. That's if you've done one project, but you also are making money and have a space, like a place to live, great. That's also hugely successful. So that's my best advice for first.
I think that's really poignant. I think it's so easy to get lost in like the glitz and glamour when you're in third year and see like the bright lights.
Yeah.
But like you said, one creative thing, anything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And also like just because you're not actively, if you don't get cast in things right away and you're not acting every day the way that you are in school, it doesn't mean you're not an actor anymore. I think that's also the thing that people forget. That's another big part of that transition, right? Like if you're doing it every day for years, suddenly when you're not doing it every day, it feels like you start to question like, oh, am I an actor now? Like, who am I? Like, and that's, yeah, getting yourself sort of used to that, but also reminding yourself that just because you're not doing it constantly, it doesn't mean you aren't anymore. Finding ways to keep yourself, like, I always like keep taking classes. Don't think that training is done. Like find a class that excites you and maybe take that for a bit, or like practice, do your vocal warm-ups, practice your diction, like things like that you can do in your own home. Like do little things that keep you connected and going. But also, yeah, like it's that pressure isn't going to help. I think the pressure of expecting so much isn't going to help you, because it could happen, but it could not. And neither of those outcomes is bad necessarily. I think that's the other thing. People will you put a lot of pressure on ourselves to like what's good and bad. So like what success is seen very much in that way, right? There's like you have to like achieve something to be good at it, when really that's not the way it works.